Welcome to an episode of Stance Change. This is something we did last
One
generation.
time.
I think
Like,
we did 3 or 4 episodes of it.
yeah. Oh man. Do we have a theme for Logan? Get on that. We did
Logan, if
stance
you
change.
produce a Stance Change theme for us.
I mean, it's not going to help you now that because you're not going to know about it till you hear this episode. But
But in
you
future
know,
episodes, we'll have more. Okay,
Mighty Morphin stance changers.
So, so we're here to talk about some of the new Pokemon or old Pokemon in this generation. I plan on doing a couple more of these. I've got a couple lined up that I'd like to do with people, but if you want to talk about some new Pokemon or old Pokemon and what tier you think they should be in, or any rule changes, let me know, and I'd love to sit down and record with people about this. So, today we have my wonderful co-host on the podcast, Dakota Jones, here with me,
It's me.
and we're going to jump into talking about some Pokemon. Dakota, you've got a lineup here for us. So
Selected
what do you want to
three
talk about
mons
first?
that I think you should all be paying very close attention to. If you were making a list, you would definitely check it twice for these Pokemon.
Yeah, in the spirit of the holiday, I think we should probably try to work more of those into this
Oh, I should
episode.
have picked Iron Bundle. I
We could talk about you know what? We'll do a
I know.
bonus Iron
Do
Bundle
we
thing
need to
if you
talk
like.
about Iron? Do we need to talk about Iron Bundle?
I,
Like,
I I would encourage people, if there is something that is currently banned by Smogon that you either feel strongly about that we should or shouldn't ban, let
yeah,
us know. We're going to
come
be
on, we'll
voting on
cheer
it.
him.
Yeah.
Yeah, don't be afraid. He's not nearly as mean as he sounds.
So, we can talk about one of these Pokemon. You want to start with Skeledirge?
Let's start. Let's start with the Gurge, the Dirge, all the other urges. But I said this to you in the pre-show. I don't think I've ever been more wrong about a Pokemon than I have been about Skeledirge. I thought it was not going to be very good. Turns out it's very good.
Yeah.
Like running OU right now, just absolutely unkillable. Torch Song is a huge. Well, first let's back up. Fire Ghost type. We're not going to go through all the stats. I'm sure Jerem has them on screen as we speak.
I do.
Yeah, no, that's because I trust you. 'Cause,
Appreciate
I've
it.
been doing this for a long time.
I love it.
Yeah, just it's a really unique Pokemon. Fire types defensively have traditionally not been super useful unless they're Torkoal and they're a Sunsetter. They have primarily some other function than just being defensive. Um, Skeledirge kind of breaks that mold. It is stone cold a fire ghost wall that is hard to break down. Um, and it has a lot of weaknesses, but it's a lot of weaknesses that I think this is not all weaknesses are created equal. When you're a fire type and you have water, ground, rock type weaknesses, yeah, you're not going to be in against those types. That'd be dumb. Um, but Skeledirge with Unaware, Torch Song giving it the ability to kind of like break through. It allows it to self boost and break through despite not having to run something like Nasty Plot, that it doesn't get, by the way. Um, it it's a really interesting case study, and I think it's something that in league format where you don't have to run standard OU sets is going to be a real problem for every team that has to face it.
Yeah.
Gets great coverage, gets belch, which you could definitely make something, especially with it being a ghost type, and knockoff is less prevalent, but like you could still run Colberberry, uh, belch, which would be fascinating. But I mean, it gets decent enough coverage too. You can run it offensively, so like I don't know. I think it's a very dangerous mod.
Yeah, I think based on its resistances, so it's obviously got immunities to fighting and normal, two pretty common offensive types. Strongly resists bug, which it's not the first Pokemon to have a quad resist to bug, but it's always a nice thing to have. Uh, but resisting fairy, fire, grass, ice, poison, those, and also it resists steel, but those five right there are typically specially offensive types. So that makes it run specially defensive a lot of the time. Um, and then it also has pretty good defense to back it up and Will-O-Wisp. So like Will-O-Wisp plus Hex is like really good move synergy together.
I mean,
Has
yeah.
reliable recovery. I think like maybe if there's a downside, it's that you pretty much have to run heavy duty boots on it. But overall, this has
I
been
mean,
a
on the ladder, I
fantastic
guess that's
defensive
true, but
Pokemon.
like, I mean, there will be matchups where you don't need to run heavy duty boots on it in the league.
True, and you
Like,
might feel comfortable enough to like not
yeah,
have to run heavy duty boots, like if you have good enough hazard prevention. But I love the fact that we have four unaware Pokemon in this. Is that right? Do we have four in?
yeah.
Oh yeah, well, because we also have so we got Quagsire, Dondozo, Clodsire, and Skeledirge, and they all do something very different. They all check different types of Pokemon, which is pretty cool.
Dondozo sits there forever.
Yeah, another unaware Pokemon that is incredibly hard to kill.
Oh God, I have not had fun playing against Donzozo in OU. That is not fun.
Yeah. Any closing thoughts on Skeledirge? Any thoughts to? So I have the Smogon Dex thing here, and it actually has an analysis, which some of the other ones we have don't. But the most common Terra types it has here is Fairy and Water, just because those are very good defensive types.
Yeah, I mean, Fairy makes sense because it allows you to resist the dark type moves that'll be coming at you. Water, the same reason for water typing, rock type moves. I mean, I think there's more utility. These are definitely the two you'll see on the ladder, but like again in League, if we allow terrestrialization, like the sky's the limit with this thing. I could definitely see a flying Skeledirge to be able to be immune to rock to ground types. Yeah.
Yeah, I could see. Let's see. Yeah, you got Dark and Ghost. Yeah, somebody actually you could turn into a Dark type to resist the Dark and Ghost moves that are coming at you.
Be interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I could see like a turning into a Grass type to resist ground and water
The only
type
bummer
moves.
there is the only thing you get to use specially is like Snarl, but
I mean, yeah, but I don't. I feel like with terrestrialization, it doesn't matter if you utilize that third stab you get because you still
but
have
it's
your
always a
Fire
nice
and Ghost.
bonus when you have a move that
Yeah,
like
but it's not like you
exists.
lose out on anything by
Well,
terrestrializing into a type other than the ones you already have.
so like this is the thing though is Skeledirge could become kind of your preeminent like absorber of like big time attackers because like you can weaken it. You can weaken mons. You know, I mentioned the skull, the snarl set as a joke, but it does lower your opponent's special attack by one, and
Yeah,
you can do kind of a similar thing you would with the Will-O-Wisp set, except on the special side.
you can't though because of your ability.
You are correct,
Yeah.
but what about all the people running Blaze
You
Skeledirge,
know
Jared?
what? If you want to for that matchup, maybe sure.
Don't
Like
ever run Blaze Skeledirge. Like no, like
challenge extended by Dakota. Everybody.
all right.
He
I
said
mean,
you can't do
hey,
it.
if you want to, somebody wants to draft Blaze Skeledirge and run it against me, I'm totally fine
You
with
can
that.
run unaware Skeledirge and then run Blaze at any point in the season.
I mean, I prefer if you run it against me because it's easier to beat.
Yeah.
But
So, any other thoughts on Skeledirge before we move on to the next Pokemon that you want to talk about?
it's nice. I like it. It's neat.
Okay, well said. So next, you wanted to talk about the biggest salt.
Even bigger salt, Jerem.
Even bigger salt.
Oh man, we gotta get the. So, Garganackle. I'm gonna keep calling it Garganackle. Maybe that's not how what it's called. I don't care.
It's pronounced
Garganackle.
Garganachi.
Who's adding syllables now, Jerem? Who's
No,
adding syllables
that's
now?
an I at the end. It looks like a lowercase l, but it's actually an I.
Oh yeah, they only capitalize that well-known English rule where you capitalize the first and last letter.
This is not a game made by an English developer. Are you
That's
claiming to
true.
know all the grammar rules of the Japanese language?
I'm not. I don't think that's one of them though.
I think it might be Garganachi.
All right, well, whatever. Whomever he may be, the masked man that he is, or woman, or no gender. Um, it's a rock, right? Or I mean, it's salt.
It's salt. It's a mineral.
Rocks are we've
We're
wandered
not.
too far afield already.
I'm not some sort of geologist. We need to let's talk about Pokemon.
Yeah, everyone knows I'm a botanist, clearly.
Say, give
Garganackle
us some
just
fun botany fact. Go.
um don't touch plants with three leaves on them.
That was a fun botany fact. You are right. That was fun.
I mean, it wasn't fun. It's a botany fact.
Ah, it's an opinion.
It's a yeah. You're right. You're right. I really didn't. Yeah, maybe I don't know what a fact is.
Maybe you're not
Um,
actually a botanist.
I'm not. You're right. Yeah, you've seen through my clever ruse.
Yeah.
Um,
Let's talk about Garganackle, I guess.
I think Garganackle has the potential to be the preeminent defensive mon of this generation. Um, Pure rock type, but purifying salt is such a great ability. You're immune to status, and you resist ghost type for no reason. Um, it, already, rock types have a lot of common weaknesses, but like also getting curing salt allows you to really, hammer down on two of those weaknesses in water and steel types, two likely types that will be coming in to try and force you out. Um, Great defenses, gets body press, gets iron defense, gets rocks, like gets all the things you need a rock type to get. And plus more, gets like brick break. You can use it to break down screens, which I think will be a little bit more prevalent this generation. Gets Zen headbutt, so you get some coverage to hit fighting types as well.
I've
Like
actually seen a lot of people
it's
lately running block also.
block classic. That's like the classic like Snorlax set. So
Like
you can't leave,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like
block plus salt cure.
yeah. Oh yeah,
you
no,
could beat
especially against like a steel type, like yeah, really difficult.
Yeah,
Um,
you and I were talking before the podcast. Like we saw um Corviknight go like in the top 5 picks for basically like 3 or 4 seasons in a row. Usually goes in the first round also. I think we'll see Garganackle go fairly early, fairly often for the first few seasons of this. It's
oh,
going to
I
be,
totally agree. I mean,
yeah.
it's like, it's funny that like, so I was thinking about this with purifying salt. Garganackle has one of the best abilities in the game. It has sturdy. One of the guarantees you can't be KO'd on the first turn. Um, and you'll never run it ever.
No, I didn't realize it
Eh,
also got clear body. Another thing you're never going to run because purifying salt is
Yeah,
insanely
that's
good.
how good purifying salt. Clear body and like is a very good ability, and sturdy is a very good ability, and you will never run them unless it's like unless you're Zang maybe.
I think the reason you would run sturdy or clear body is pure hubris that you're like, they're not even going to try to status me because they're going to assume I have purifying salt.
Yeah, I mean, but like with toxic spikes being more prevalent this
Yeah.
generation, I think that's a dangerous assumption.
Well, no, yeah, you just run heavy duty boots, Garganackle with sturdy, so that way you don't break your sturdy, and then you have
It's a
you.
bad set. Why are you telling the people about this?
No,
Like,
it is a suboptimal set, but suboptimal means that there are some situations in which it is optimal.
I mean, I guess that's true, but I mean, it, again, this mon, like even it's specially like 90 special defense is nothing to sneeze at.
No,
Like,
like yeah, 100, especially with 100 HP, but 100, 130, 90 for its defenses is fantastic.
also
Like,
gets dig if you're into some sort of dig. I
like,
mean,
yeah, the only knock against this Pokemon, I think, is that uh, Rock by itself is not a fantastic defensive type. Has like it comes with 5 weaknesses, and for resist, they're not super like normal. Isn't something that's running around a lot. I did say for the last Pokemon, it's a decently common offensive type. But it
yeah,
doesn't.
but like, I mean, the only two resists that are actually useful are like fire and poison.
I think
Really,
flying's pretty good.
flying's all right.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
but
mean,
like fighting, steel, ground, water, very common
oh,
weaknesses.
it's like the five most common
I would
types.
probably say those are the
Like,
most common. Yeah, I would agree, especially like ground, steel, fighting. most teams have those. Grass, not super common.
Water. Every team
Water,
has a water type.
most teams
Like,
have a water type, even if they're defensive. So I think that's the only knock you can have against this Pokemon. Again, Terrestrialization covers that. You can turn into a water type or a fairy type that have a lot less weaknesses. You can turn into a ghost type, which is interesting because then, because of Purifying Salt resisting Ghost, you're not actually weak to Ghost moves, so your only weakness is Dark type moves.
yeah, yeah. It makes it a real problem that you can ghost terrastalize because like I don't know what you like fighting now. Fighting types do nothing against you, and you can just sit in front of them. Like,
Yeah, I'm excited about seeing this Pokemon in League format also because it has all the elemental punches. It has Zen Headbutt. It's got
all the
Rock
rock moves.
Polish. Yeah, it's
You could
got.
run like you could run like Sandstorm or like run it on a sand team and boost your Spadef as well. Like it's
Yeah, I think that this Pokemon is so good on the ladder because of the specific set that I have on the screen right here. But I also think that it has a lot more potential in League format when it's just like, oh, Body Press isn't actually going to beat anything. Oh, there's nothing I really want to Salt Cure.
yeah.
I think,
And then you can decide. Then you can go through. It's got a pretty deep move pool for one of the new mons. Most of their move pools are pretty shallow.
I agree.
Um,
I'm looking forward to seeing people use this Pokemon.
Maybe even two people this season.
Oh, that's a good point. Almost certainly two people.
Yeah. I'm just being optimistic, man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'm trying it as a thing that I'm doing.
the third Pokemon that you want to talk about, we have some debate on how it's supposed to be pronounced. You can pronounce it however you want. This is your topic.
My topic, Dashabun.
Dashbun. That's one of the more common pronunciations I've heard of this. Let us know in the comments how you say it.
It's George.
Like and subscribe and hit the notification bell.
We're doing that now, are we?
You know what? I was watching a YouTuber and they're just like, I said it once as a joke and it worked. So now I have to keep saying it.
Do you?
Well, I mean, if it's good for your channel, if that's that guy's primary source of income, so
I guess that's fair. You and I
Yeah.
have like regular jobs.
yeah,
that we
like
do.
I don't
like
I don't care if you don't hit the notification bell. I think it might be funny if you do.
it's gonna be me and Jerem watching the videos over and over again.
Yeah,
So
I don't care if you hit the notification bell. But
Dashbun,
yeah.
I have really come around on this Pokemon. Man, Well Baked Body synergizes super well with this Pokemon, and I'm sure you've got the Smogon's page up now. It doesn't have like a strategy set yet, but like my goodness, being able to turn into I don't know a grass type and not be affected by fire types is just great.
Something
or a
I've
steel
seen
type.
quite a bit. It's on a different Pokemon that I'm hoping somebody wants to talk about at some point in Cerule Edge. A lot of them I've seen been running Flash Fire and terrestrializing into a bug type because then you're only weak to flying, which is not super common on the ladder right now. You're weak to flying, rock, which also kind of limited distribution. What'd you say?
Ice.
No.
Oh no, bug type. You said not flying.
Yeah.
Sorry, my
So let's see. You're
Steel?
weak to. No. What is bug weak to? That's
lot
not
of
important. We're not talking about it, but I guess I'll pull it up here. We could get offensive resist weak to rock, flying, and fire. If you have something like baked body or flash fire, then you're not weak to fire. Then you're only weak to flying and rock, and I think those are pretty easy things to play around in this current
I think
metagame.
steel type goes better with this mon because like then you get free immunity from the poison types trying to hit you.
You actually, interestingly though, you do have more weaknesses if you turn into a steel type than you do if you turn into a bug type. Because you're
That's
still
true.
weak to ground and fighting, and maybe
That's it.
That's it. Okay.
That's it.
But I agree. I like this Pokemon. I think this gives me a little bit of Aromatisse vibes because it's not a fantastic defensive fairy, but it's pretty.
I don't
good.
think it's a full defensive mon. It's more of a really good pivot. Like you can work up or trailblaze or like you can yawn, like roar. The ability to like phase people in and out of the game. This is a Pokemon that is going to cause mismatches and switches as well, because people aren't going to know quite what to do with it. Um, like I think it could be a very good pivot. Like its speed tier isn't terrible. 95 is a little bit slower than you'd want for like a top tier pivot, but
I think
um
I think for a defensive Pokemon with a Pokemon with 115 defense, the only thing that holds this Pokemon back is its HP at 57.
it's fairly passive as well.
It is. Like
But
really
like
the only moves you can reliably run on it. I mean, like Ice Fang if you can hit a 4x weakness or something. It also gets Thunder Fang, and does it get Fire Fang? It does. Like that's nice to have in its arsenal, but mostly Play Rough is what you're going to be running. You're going to be running Play Rough, Wish, Protect, and then like Yawn or a coverage move, I think.
I mean, yawn, body press, baton pass with like agility baton pass on this mon fascinates me because it's fast enough that and will cause enough switches that you can agility and then you're faster, then you baton pass into something else. Um,
Man,
I don't know.
we do talk about Baton Pass quite a bit, and I feel like the only time we've ever seen it used fairly successfully is on
Dang.
Ninjask. When
That's
did
not true. Gorbice this season, this
Oh,
past
that's
season.
true. Okay, so Shell Smash or like yeah, Shell Smash or other gimmicks. I don't know if agility alone is a good enough thing to baton pass that it would actually
It
help.
depends on how you build your team. Well, I mean, if you get hit with a well-baked body,
And then you're
uh,
passing defense and speed.
I don't know.
I
I mean,
yeah, like I don't dislike baton pass, but I do think we probably overhype it more than necessary.
that's probably fair. But I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's our hype has prevented it from becoming a big problem in the league, Jerem. Have you ever thought about it like that?
Uh I haven't, but I think for good reason.
That's probably fair. But yeah, no, it gets decent enough coverage. Trailblaze to boost speed, Stomping Tantrum for fire types. Like it's, I think it's a really interesting mon, and I don't think this needs to be said, but a very good boy.
Yeah, I think people somebody's gonna draft this just based on design alone.
Very good boy. I mean, I do think there's a good Pokemon in here. Like I just it's hard to say with Pokemon before you've seen them used in League format on how exactly they're going to shake out and what role or niche they're going to fill.
Yeah. So any closing thoughts on Doxbone before we move
It
on
also gets
to
Wish as well. So
Yeah, I think that's going to be its biggest like thing that it uses. I think that's the biggest thing that people are going to like about it.
yeah, I mean, and it's nice to soak up Will-O-Wisps as well.
Yeah, I think that's like its ability's great. It's got a good defensive typing. I think it's gonna be it's the wishes aren't very big that it is passing, but overall I do like this Pokemon a lot.
Yeah, good boy.
Yeah, for sure.
Uh,
Okay, so the last thing I think we can talk about is terrestrialization as a whole. So I think the poll we're eventually going to put out is going to be: do we want no restrictions on terrestrialization, some restrictions on terrestrialization, or ban terrestrialization? And then there will be a second question that is: if we restrict it, what do we want the restrictions to be? Which I think through the series of these discussions we're going to work out. So, Dakota, what are your thoughts on this mechanic?
I've gone back and forth on this quite a bit, Jerem. I personally, and again, this is just my opinion, so take it for what it's worth. Not much to many people. Uh, I don't. I think we should do this first season with no restrictions. That you should be able to set your Pokemon each week, and maybe that's the wrong way about it, but I feel like this is the fastest way to figure out how dangerous it's going to be, and especially with us having a shorter season this season, we have the ability to kind of ride out the bumps if we have to, and if it doesn't work, we can always change it for next season.
I definitely see that, and I would probably like to have some restriction personally, but I
I'm
understand
not
if people,
opposed to some
yeah,
restriction, but you asked me the question,
no,
how
no,
would I
I
prefer it?
totally agree. I just,
And
yeah,
I would prefer just to have it as we have it in game, where you can terrestrialize what you want when you want. And some people may be opposed to that, and that's fine. I don't hate you for having a different opinion than me. I vote for Democrats. But
S-
it's, you know, I think that the league is good enough and the players are good enough that it shouldn't be a problem.
now that's interesting because I think that, again, this is my personal opinion. Everyone can obviously vote however they want. I'm just gonna. This is about sharing opinions and giving people
Yeah,
different
no, no,
sides of
there's no. I
arguments.
mean, there are the only judgments we have here is if you're using Dunspars, which then we'll judge you because we should.
Yeah. Anyways, I think that for me, the things I'm going to think about with terrestrialization is looking at how it works in game, where you can't change stuff super often, where you don't know what you're going to be facing. Also, when you're facing things on like the Showdown OU ladder, you don't know what you're going to be facing. If you can craft a Pokemon to be able to beat its presumptive counters on your opponent's team by just changing, giving them Terra Blast and giving them a Terra type, those things concern me, but at the same time, I don't want to nerf terrestrialization to a point where it doesn't reflect what it is supposed to be. I've had some pitches given to me that I think change it to a degree that it's a different gimmick. And I don't want that. I want it to kind of retain its
We want to give it
essence.
its full day in court if we can.
Yeah. I want it to be able
Like,
to retain its essence, but also be able to make it so that way it's not just like it doesn't feel random and like how was I supposed to plan for that? Because I think the essence of league format is here's a list of things to plan for them as best you can. I
now,
personally
if
feel like terrestrialization probably adds too many variables.
I wouldn't be opposed to banning Terra Blast and just allowing terrestrialization.
That is definitely something. So I'll give you my preliminary list of restrictions. These might change throughout these discussions. If somebody brings up something else, I definitely want to hear it. Preliminary list of restrictions is probably a limited number of Pokemon on the team can terrestrialize. I'm guessing 3 seems like a nice number.
Yeah, and you will be able to bring all three. There will be no
Yeah,
limitations on how many you can bring each week, correct?
I don't think so. I don't see why
Good.
we would do if we'd be like, oh yeah, 3 of them can terrestrialize, and then you can terrestrialize any of those 3 Pokemon into any type at any point in the battle. I think that's one option. The
Yeah.
second option is one that Dakota just mentioned, where we ban Terra Blast, but we allow terrestrialization because I think just being able to gain an additional coverage move that is stab is that's probably one of the stronger components of the
It
gimmick.
does feel like Game Freak went to a lot of trouble removing moves from Pokemon trying to balance the game, and it does feel like terrestrialization kind of breaks that, all that work that was done, removing things from certain Pokemon.
Yeah. The final pitch is considerably more complicated, but I do think that it keeps the essence of terrestrialization and then also the essence of league format the best, personally. So in that pitch, any Pokemon would be able to terrestrialize on your team, but it would only be able to terrestrialize into a specific type that is determined at when transactions are due. So if on week 1 you're like, I've drafted Dragapult and I want it to be able to terrestrialize into a ghost type, that means that week it can only Terra into a ghost type. Anything else is illegal. And then when week 2 rolls around, you can change that for free, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, I want to be able to turn into a fairy type this week.
But then you would still be able to terrestrialize any of your 6 Pokemon
Yeah,
that you bring each week.
But again, you're locked to as one type for 1 week. That does
Yeah.
require a lot of upkeep from people, and I understand why they wouldn't want to do it. But I do think that that is
A
probably,
7-week season.
yeah, I think that's probably the most, again, my opinion, because I came up with the idea, the most pure form of what we could do that would retain most of the characteristics of what we want.
Yeah.
Um,
So I mean, I've shared my thoughts on it.
yeah,
I'm not gonna read. I'm not gonna. No, I'm not gonna go over it again. We're not arguing here. We're just
yeah.
having a friendly
I don't
discussion.
think that's probably going to be the biggest pitch that I have for it through these episodes. I want people to hear the options. Again, if other people have other options they want to explore, let me know. I've heard a couple of pitches from other people, but I do feel like these are probably the most solid.
Join Jerem. Get on Stan's change. He'll talk to you about it.
I honestly, if we have, I guess I wouldn't be recording an episode with myself, but we're looking to maybe have 16 teams in the next season. If we have 15 episodes of this, that would be amazing.
I mean, don't feel pressure. Like if you don't want to talk, about
Don't,
it,
yeah,
don't.
absolutely not. I would, but I'd love to hear as many different views on stuff as I can because I do feel like some of the voices we get are the same ones every season where we have 5 or 6 people who are driving the conversation, and I want to hear more opinions.
And feel free to join us on Monday nights. We still hang out in the Discord chat every not every Monday night, but just about every Monday night.
Yeah. I don't, and then the one other thing I want to just mention is since we're going to be having likely a 16 team season, there's a lot of pitches going around for what we're going to do at the end of the season in terms of postseason. Right now, what we're looking at is probably about half the teams will go to a like championship bracket, and then half of the teams will do something else with
Sack race.
sack race, rock
Brett
paper
has to
scissors
fly
tournament.
in from Seattle to participate in the sack race.
Yeah, maybe some like just for fun exhibition games. But I want to know.
Oh, bowl games.
Bowl games is I think that's personally what I like the idea of the most because if people want to play more, they can. If they don't want to play more, then they don't have to.
Reject the bowl committee's bid. Like Notre Dame did that one time because they're pricks.
Logan has an idea. Sorry, I'm just gonna blow past that.
I mean, any shot I can take at Notre Dame.
Yeah.
I mean,
Logan has an idea for like a kind of a play-in tournament to get into a chance to make it to playoffs, and then also we're probably going to be doing in season 18 we're probably going to be doing 2 parallel leagues, and then season 19 we'd like to do kind of an upper league and a lower league where it's just like these are the top teams, these are like the lower teams. It seems rude to say the bottom teams.
I mean, here's the thing though, but it's not going to be based off historical record. It'll be based off how you finished in the previous season.
Yeah, so if you play your ass off in season 8, if you've been doing bad in the past, but if you
better, you'll be in the. I mean,
yeah,
all talk here, guys. I'm on the podcast. Good chance I'm going in the lower league next season after.
So yeah, just if you play well in season 18, you'll go to the upper league. You'll face stiffer competition, but and if you don't do as well, you'll face lesser competition. But I don't really know how we're gonna handle like championships for that. I think we'd probably just crown 2 tiers of champions. But again, that's like a problem 4 or 5 months down the road.
Well, then you have like a super cup between the 2 champions.
Yeah. If you have any thoughts on that, let me know. Love to hear it. But any closing thoughts, Dakota? Any other rules that you think need to be looked at?
I think we'll get to. I think you've done a good job covering all the bases, Jerem, and I look forward to the rules podcast, everyone's favorite podcast every year, where we just read the rules to you.
It's definitely our most listened to podcast, one of our most beloved staples of.
That's
of
not
the
true.
league.
New Year, New Mons is our most listened to podcast.
Yes, on accident.
100% on accident.
Okay, but I think that's probably it. Thank you everyone for listening. Dakota, final thoughts. Give it to us.
Have a Merry Christmas, everybody. Watch out for Delibird when he brings your presents down the chimney.
Thank you,
Leave him some
everyone.
bird seed and I don't know, whatever birds like.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.